epistrophe that you may encounter in your research, also called antistrophe, but I'm calling it epistrophe in the contest all the time. No interchangeable terms here. It forms the counterpart to anaphora because the repetition of the same word or words comes at the end of successive phrases or clauses or sentences. This is not quite as common as anaphora is. Here's the example. Where affections bear rule, there reason is subdued. Honesty is subdued. Goodwill is subdued. And all things else that withstand evil forever are subdued. See how subdued keeps being repeated at the end of a unit. And then the cars do not sell because the engineering is inferior, the quality of materials is inferior, and the workmanship is inferior. That repetition of is inferior, is inferior, is inferior. That's epistrophe. Question?
Is there a connection between the EPIS?
Epi?
Did you say that?
I did. No, I didn't say it.
Oh, okay.
Did you want? What
Like, you say what the root word is.
Oh, epi means, help me out here. It doesn't mean up on, or on. So it's upon the turn, and the turns are the commas. Okay? Does that make sense? And finally, polysyndeton. If you have asyndeton, then you can have polysyndeton. Poly means many. And here you're going to have many conjunctions. Okay? You will see sentences written the way kids talk. And the use of polysyndeton is the use of conjunction between each word, phrase, or clause, and is thus structurally the opposite of asyndeton. The rhetorical effect of polysyndeton, however, often shares with that of asyndeton a feeling of multiplicity, energetic enumeration, and building up. By the way, I just realized something. I'm telling you this because I thought you'd like to know. I'm not going to ask any questions about what the effects are, okay? Because they are not always the same, and sometimes there are other things. So I just thought you'd like to know, and it might help the students to begin to get their heads around it. But I will not. I'm really only going to ask them to identify the types when they see them. Yes? Right, because they're all in there. They're all in there. I have a few more things to tell you, but I want to read these examples. They read and studied and wrote and drilled. I laughed and played and talked and flunked. Now, I don't know if you realize this or not, but that is two sentences that are very good examples of polysyndeton. The two sentences together show you antithesis. And I am going to do that in the contest. Sometimes the question will say the following is an example of blank and blank, blank and blank, blank and blank, blank and blank. And in a few instances it might even say a blank and 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 blank. And in a few instances it will say all but. So there will be some fun with this. Last example. The water, like a witch's oils, burnt green and blue and white. That's so poetic, doesn't it? Coleridge is so cool. Any questions about what to do with this? Yes?
Is it going to be limited to these 8, or will you also throw in, like, I'm thinking, anaphora goes always really well with parallelism and climax. Are you going to throw those others into that?
Okay, I'm going to rephrase your question. She wants to know if I might mention something about parallelism in the contest. And the answer would be possibly. But it won't be which of the following sentences has parallelism in it. It might be because parallelism also functions in other areas. Like I might say, a character is parallel to another, or an event is parallel to another. Or I also might say this, because of parallelism in this sentence, it is an example of. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. I am not going to throw any of, there are tons more of these. A lot. Some of them are even German.
Well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking. There are tons of them. And
Like I originally had Zugma on my list, but I said, that's not Greek, I'm not going to use that.
sorry, come on.
Zoe, excuse me, Zoe.
That's why I have problems with these. I hate to teach these to my kids. I never know how to pronounce them. So thank you for all the help.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Ms. Dogood, does this look familiar? Yes. Pardon? No, this one I decided that this one, yes, it's on the disc. Like I said, everything I'm going to show you is on the disc. Everything. That's exactly what I was thinking. A lot like the kids. Okay. These are the characteristics and conventions of the epic form. Okay? They come to us from the Greeks, and we still see them millennia after the Greek high civilization has faded. I will read these to you if you like. They are on the disc. The protagonist is a figure of heroic stature, of national or international importance, and of great historical or legendary significance. Does Odysseus fit this bill? Yeah. The setting is vast in scope, covering great nations, the world, or the universe. Does the Odyssey do so? It covers not only the known world of the time of the original story, but also goes to the other world as well. The action consists of deeds requiring great valor or superhuman courage. Is that true for Odysseus? Is it true for Telemachus? To a certain degree it is. There are not going to be any questions about this, but your kids in doing their research may run across the fact that the first 4 books of the Odyssey are critically regarded as an almost independent story called the Telemachy. Because it's all about Telemachus. Odysseus doesn't even show up until book 5. So, supernatural forces, gods, angels, demons, interest themselves in the action and intervene from time to time. Any gods show up in the Odyssey to intervene. Not so much. Maybe not quite as regularly as they do in the Iliad, but still quite a bit. The style is one of sustained elevation and grand simplicity. That one I think may be a little harder for students to get their heads around because this is not going to sound either simple or grand, perhaps to some of them, but it's the language that makes it grand. The simplicity of the story is really pretty straightforward. This is not a convoluted story, despite the fact that it begins in the middle, then goes to the beginning, and then finishes. It's still a fairly straightforward story. And for all the movies and video games they play, they're going to have a hard time with starting at someplace other than the beginning. And the epic poet recounts the deeds of the hero objectively. They are presented. The narrator never actually brags about Odysseus, you think? Odysseus brags a great deal about himself, and so do others. But the poet himself doesn't intervene to editorialize about Odysseus. Not